Fu Panda 4 is the fourth installment of the Kung Fu Panda franchise, which is pretty self-explanatory. I don't know why I needed to say all of that. But anyways, I was able to check it out, and unfortunately, I think this might be my least favorite of the entire franchise. But hear me out. That's not saying that this is a bad film, so I can confirm that none of the Kung Fu Panda films are bad, because I had a decent amount of fun with this one. But throughout all of its runtime, it just felt like a couple things were missing. First of all, a lot of the main characters we've seen and loved in the previous three films, they're just not in the movie at all. They're either just cameos with a couple of lines or just fully absent, which was a real big bummer because they're main characters, they're protagonists in this story, and they added a lot to this trilogy, so you can really feel them not being there. You can feel their absence, and instead the film puts most of its attention on Aquafina's character Zen, a brand new character, and that would normally be fine, but it feels kind of forced and uncanny. It's like this was meant to be some kind of spin-off Netflix original like special or something like that, but in the middle of the writing stage they're like, maybe we should make this Poe's fourth film. So it just feels so weird how it's trying to take attention away from Poe, the protagonist of this franchise, and give it to Zen, a brand new character, and it just kind of feels very forced and weird and just off-putting. The budget for this film is $85 million, which is significantly lower than the other films, which range from like $100 million to $150 million. So the animation does clearly lack in quality compared to the other films, which the last of which released like a decade ago. So the animation is more on par with the Netflix shows they made. I don't know, the one was called like the Dragon something, I don't know what it was called. I never watched any of them, but I saw the animation and I was like, that doesn't look very good. So this movie has animation that is on par with those Netflix shows than the theatrical films they've made previously. And finally, let's move on to the positives, because I kind of dogged on this movie for the past like minute or something, I don't know. I really enjoyed some of the action sequences in here. Now, the action sequences in these Kung Fu Panda films are never lacking. Even if the film turned out to be one of the worst animated films of all time, I guarantee you they would have cooked with the fights in this film, because they're energetic, they're fun, they're lively, they're entertaining, and just they're great to look at. Because even with the lower grading animation, I don't know if that made any sense, I just meant with the animation that is just not on par with the original films, you could still see that they put in most of their effort into these fights, which makes sense because this is Kung Fu Panda, not Talking Panda. That was a bad joke, I'm sorry for that one. But speaking of jokes, there are a couple of gags and jokes here that really do work. And though at times it did feel like the movie wanted to appeal to the youngest demographic possible more than everybody else, because there's an upscale in fart jokes and things of that nature, but that's whatever. I don't really blame them for trying to appeal to the younger audience instead of everybody, which that is what the original films did, so maybe I do blame them, but it's not really one of my biggest flaws with this film. Now, these aren't really spoilers, but they are revealing the screen time of a few characters, so if you don't want that revealed, skip ahead a few seconds. But Master Shifu is barely in the movie, which is a huge bummer, a major bummer. Master Oogway is barely in the film. Actually, he's not in the film at all. I don't know what I'm saying with barely. He's not in the movie at all. Same with the Furious Five. One of the biggest parts of this franchise, they are not in the film at all. And the villains that return get like almost nothing to do at all. So other than that fight scene in the trailers, Tai Lung doesn't get a lot to do, and the others have like no lines. The new villain, the Chameleon, is good enough for the type of film this is, but is lacking in motives and personality compared to the other main villains. So, you know, whatever. I guess it's a fine villain, but like compared to the other ones, not really there in terms of like everything. Overall, Kung Fu Panda 4 is a decent addition to this franchise. It's fun, but heavily flawed. Maybe lacking a lot of the charm of the previous three films, but still fun enough to get like a smile out of you when you're seeing this in theaters. So around a 63%.